That works. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Paula McCain. I'm a recovery business advisor for the North Central Texas Small Business Development Center. Today is National Mason Jar Day, National Moose Day, and most importantly, it is Giving Tuesday. The SBDC is a leading provider of assistance for small businesses. We are grant funded, and because of that, we can offer our services to you at no cost. Today's webinar is how to write eye-catching product descriptions that sell by Ashley Cook. Please put your questions in the chat room, and Ashley will address those at some point in her presentation. Ashley has 13 years of sales and marketing and analytics experience. She shifted into serving small business owners, developed a copy for multi-million-dollar brands, social media influencers, and small startups. She's a copywriter as well as a copy coach. She is also the creator of Lane Copywriting, and we are very fortunate to have her today. Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks so much, Paula. I am so excited to be here. Let me get my screen share up. And we'll get going. All right. And as Paula mentioned, if you have any questions, let me get the chat box up here too. You can drop those in as we go along. I'll answer them at different spots, or I'll make sure and cover them all at the end. So feel free to definitely ask any questions that you have. So I'm really excited to talk to you about product descriptions. They're a really fun type of sales material or copy to write for your business. And you see them all the time, whether it's in print or online, whether you use them for your business or for, to make decisions whenever you shop on for certain products or services. Product descriptions are everywhere. So today, what I'm going to cover with you is what they are and why they matter, some common myths around product descriptions, and the key pieces or components that make up an effective product description. Then I'll share some do's and don'ts on writing them, and then we'll go through some live examples, and I'll wrap up with tips. And again, if you have any questions, please definitely drop those in. So while we get going, I'm going to explain a little bit about what product descriptions are and why they, like how they're different from other forms of copy and why they matter. So first, I'd like to know who here uses product descriptions in your business or has a product or service that warrants some type of description. If that falls, like if that sounds like something that you do, just drop that in the chat because I'd love to know. But at its heart, a product description is a type of copy that accompanies a product or service that's for sale. And I know that can feel like, well, duh, Ashley, that's an obvious, but bear with me. So the difference between product descriptions and other types of copy is that they are typically shorter. They're typically shorter than what you would find on like a full website or a landing page or a sales page. And they're not going to have the headlines or the subheaders that a landing page or an opt-in or a blog might have. Now, where they are similar to other types of copy is that they hit on important pieces like like knowing who your audience is and what problems they're going through and what their goals or aspirations are. It also includes, there's a call to action. Now, for product descriptions or service-based descriptions, that call to action, the goal of writing that is to entice the reader to buy that product or that service. Whereas for other types of copy that you write, maybe it's, like a social post where you're like, click this link or drop, comment in comment below. Or maybe it's book a consultation. You may have a variety of call to actions and other types of copy, but product descriptions are exclusively for this is the information that you need to go and buy this product. And why they matter is that it helps to build trust with your clients. So it's an opportunity for you to position yourself as an expert or an authority in what it is that you're offering. And you can do that in the way that you write about and talk about your product. And then it can also be a powerful way to answer all their questions, address any objections or barriers that might prevent them from buying your product. It's a great way to showcase your reviews and hit on their pain points or their dreams. Because at the heart of it, a successful product description is going to inform the prospects about the information that they need to buy the product. But there's also a little bit of romance involved. Like, you're going to inspire them. You're going to write this in a way that helps them to have all the feel goods about this product and what their life is going to be like with this product in it. So today, the examples I'm going to give are going to be around specific products, but you can absolutely write descriptions for service base as well. And the same process and the same methodology still applies. But the examples today are going to be around products. All right, so let's hop into some of the common myths. Now, the first myth is that product descriptions are just for products, and that's not the truth. You can actually write product descriptions for a product or a service. I just mentioned that. Anything that sells, really. The next one is around product descriptions. The next myth is that product descriptions may only be for e-commerce, different like Amazon or Shopify, or for printed catalogs. But that's also not true. You can have product descriptions on your website, in your emails that you send out to your email list, on landing pages. The list goes on for all the different places where product descriptions can pop up. The next myth is that all product descriptions are supposed to be short and sweet. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky one because it really depends. It depends on the price point and complexity of your product. So while you definitely want to be concise and clear with your words, and you don't want to ramble on, there are cases where your product description is going to need to have more copy involved. And this is usually for those higher priced items or ones that are more technical. So an example I like to give is if you're describing like a dishwasher versus this pen. The copy that you're going to need to answer all the questions and address objections and to cover the features and the benefits of a dishwasher are far more involved because there's just so many more pieces to it. It's more complicated. It's a piece of technology versus this pen. Now, not to knock pens, because I do love pens, but this is not going to need nearly as much copy to reach your ideal audience and provide them what they need to choose this pen over another. So the length of your product description does depend on the type of product that you are selling. And then the final one is that product descriptions are hard and complicated. Now, this doesn't have to be the case. I know it may feel like, well, I don't know how to write one. I'm just going to, throw out a few sentences. But when properly written, product descriptions are easy to read. They are quick to consume, and they're inspiring. Now, it feeling hard or it feeling complicated can really depend on who your target audience is, the platform that you're using, the brand style or your voice, how complex your product is, things like that. So I'm going to break it down and show you how to do what are the key parts of a product description and then how to actually start tackling them for your business. So the key part, so this is an example of some coffee. And you'll notice the examples in this presentation are largely coffee-based. I was drinking a cup of coffee at that time, and I really love coffee. And that's some of the brands I've worked in that industry before. And I love their product descriptions. And there's just so much feeling around drinking coffee. So I thought it would be a great way to give examples of product descriptions. But what you'll see in some, and I checked some other industries and saw similar as well. But Oftentimes product descriptions include a short paragraph and then a few bullets underneath. Now, the most important copy is going to be in that paragraph because that's going to be what hooks the reader in. So in this example, you see it's Stone Street Coffee Company, and they kick it off with Coney Island, the Brooklyn Bridge, Prospect Park. As smooth as a Brooklyn salesman and diverse like the people of this great city, this blend pays homage to the city where we roast. Our Brooklyn coffee features a beautiful blend of light roast and a syrupy dark roast for a contradicting yet harmonious taste. This style is perfect for any coffee lover and is one of our most popular blends. It's a blend of light and dark roast, medium roast, kosher. Create your perfect cup of coffee by customizing your bag size and grind style. Choose whole bean to grind yourself at home or have us create the perfect consistency for a French press, drip, or espresso. Savor the flavor of this diverse and exciting city with our Brooklyn blend. So this copy, the structure of it, you have the short paragraph and then some of those bullet points. But that first paragraph is really to wrap that reader into pulling them into this, what it's like to be in New York. And they're hitting at like this Brooklyn aspect, which has its own unique kind of culture and vibe in that borough. So they're pulling the audience in that wants to have that New York feel. They're doing that with their coffee. And then they start getting into some of the important pieces, like it's a light roast and a dark roast blend, and that it's medium roast, it's kosher. They start giving some more of those supporting details after they hook you in with leading off a coffee description of Coney Island, the Brooklyn Bridge. Like, what in the world? So that's one way that you can structure a product description. Sometimes you'll also see that it's just straight up bullet points. This is usually what I've seen, and it can change over time. So that's one thing about always before you write your product descriptions, check the platform and check kind of what are the current trends and current formatting styles that are going on with writing your description, because they can ebb and flow and you want to keep up with what's currently out in the marketplace. So this example is an example of another coffee, ground coffee bag, and they just bullet point it out. But what you'll notice here is they will start to go into the most important features and benefits of that coffee first, even in their bullet points. So I'll break this down some more into some of the other examples. But when it comes to coffee, flavor is going to be a big driver. This one, they also address the acidity and kind of that clean finish. And so then they start working down into some of those other claims, like it's organic, it's fair trade, craft roasted, carbon negative. There's a big sustainability and sourcing component in which is important. You can tell just from how they worded that, that's really important to their audience. But the structure of this one is just bullet points. So you can either do a short paragraph and bullets, or you can just do straight up bullet points. So how do you actually write a product description? We talked a little bit about the formatting, the style, kind of approach that you can take, but how do you actually write them? So the first thing I want to mention is to lean on the experts at the SBDC. So the North Central Texas SBDC is an amazing, amazing organization that helps provide you with solutions and link you to resources to help you address your business challenges. So whether that's writing a product description or another issue or opportunity that your business is facing, they're here to help you. So they do the no-cost confidential advising. They do trainings like this and other resources. So if you visit their website or the phone number on the screen, they can hook you up and link you into those solutions to get you going on your business. All right, so I'm going to break down now into some of the do's and don'ts of writing a product description. And the do's side is going to be broken into 3 subparts. It'll be around how to prepare to write your product description, how to actually draft it, and then edit it. So we're going to camp out here on the prep part. Now, before you ever put your pen to paper or your cursor, your finger to the keyboard, there's a number of steps to take to help prepare. And ultimately, the purpose of this is it will help you write your product descriptions faster. And if you do it right, it can also help you to write other pieces of copy for your business a little bit quicker and a little bit faster too. So it gives you a pulse on a number of things. So, okay, I'm going to dive in on this. Now, for the preparation phase, there's 3 steps. 1, know your audience. 2, gather key details. And 3, do some research. So I want to talk a little bit about knowing your audience. Now, I want to camp out on this one because it's one thing that I see reoccurring a lot with entrepreneurs and business owners is the degree to which they know their audience. And basic demographics like male in his, my ideal client is a male in his 40s, with teenage kids and, like upper level income. That's a great foundation to know, but with product descriptions, you want to take it a little step further. You want to be able to know, to go beyond that, because product descriptions tap into how your product will benefit their lives and how it can make them feel when they're using your product or your service. So in order to get at how it'll benefit their lives, you got to know what their life is like. So when it comes to knowing your audience, ask questions like, if you already know kind of what problems that your product solves, well, how does that translate to the frustrations or struggles or pain points that they have in their life? And how does that show up specifically in their life? So if we use that coffee example, the pain point could be, they don't have energy, but that's showing up as in they're feeling tired, they have brain fog, they're unable to get up and get going in the morning. So maybe they're perpetually late, they're late to work because they just can't get going, or they're not performing how they want to at the office because they're just dragging. So those are some of those pain points and struggles, using very specific examples of how that shows up in their life. Or, they're pounding back energy drinks, but they're feeling jittery, they're feeling, more anxious than energized. You want to kind of understand what are the struggles and hangups that they're having that your product can solve. You also want to go into, understand how your product will actually benefit their lives. So if you use that coffee example, let's say you have a coffee bean or coffee grounds, or just like a ready to drink coffee even, that helps promote mental sharpness, helps them to perform at their best. They're getting that energy without the jitters or without the crash, or maybe it's low acid, and so they're not having the heartburn that you can sometimes have with some of that higher acidic level coffee. And then what you also want to do is you don't want to just camp out at the pain points, or you want to be able to connect the benefits. But one key part of connecting benefits is around connecting to their goals. So yeah, it helps to address the pain because people will do things they will do a lot to like avoid pain, but they also want to help to achieve a goal or an aspiration that they have in their life. So you can tap into that element of it as well and create that emotional or that feeling based connection that way. So maybe it's, they would love to be able to, like, could you imagine waking up in the morning, like springing out of bed, knowing that you brew a cup of coffee and you are ready to go throughout your day. You're not, feeling that mid-afternoon slump. You have, steady energy to carry you throughout the day. And you just paint this picture of what this life can be like. That connects into the feelings or the aspirations that they have. So that helps all these go into knowing your audience and why it will help you to dig deeper, and build upon that foundation of those basic kind of demographics. That it starts to get into the psychographic realm, which is behind that is all the kind of the psychology, the thoughts, the fears, the struggles, the goals, the dreams piece of your client. Now, another example I want to give is around knowing your audience, and this is really important for product descriptions, is who is buying your product versus who is consuming your product. And when you're writing a product description, it's striking a balance between the two. Now, to give an example of that, let's say that you have a kid's toy, or like you sell a child's toy somehow, and you're writing your product description on that. Now, you know that ultimately the kid is going to be the one who is using this toy. So it's got to, be fun, engaging, adventurous, all those really cool things that are going to appeal to them and keep their interest. But at the same time, you also have to write for the parent. And so from a parental perspective, they're looking at something different, or in addition to what the kid would look at, which is it safe? What are the parts that are included? Is the size, what's the size of all the pieces in it? Does it come with batteries? Is it rechargeable? Like, they're looking at different components that maybe a child wouldn't. So when you write your product description, you know that while the parent might be purchasing it, the kid will be using it. So you've got to write and blend with both of those. So knowing your consumer and knowing your buyer. All right, then once you have a solid handle on who your audience is and what they're the kind of where they're at and what they're struggling with and what they hope for, next we're going to pull together all the key details about your product. Now, this includes what your product is and what your product isn't, what comes with it, what doesn't come with it. Do AA batteries come with it? Do they not? What is your product made of? Where is it sourced? What's included with it? Common questions that you get asked about your product. So think of all the different things that people could ask that would influence the purchase of whatever product it is that you're selling, and start listing out all those questions. In junction with that, what are all the reasons that they wouldn't buy it? What would keep them or prevent them from purchasing? Like if they didn't have this information, what would make them walk? Also list out what are the reasons that people do buy and don't buy your particular product. So let's say if you have that coffee example, there are different types of coffee consumers, right? You have the ones who are more of the indulgent, like they're the frappuccinos, creamy coffee, like sugary whipped cream kind of drinkers. And then you have those who are purely functional. They wanted to like energize them, get them going. So what influences them to buy is going to be very different from the functional coffee or the treat-based kind of indulgent coffee drinker. So understand what drives them to buy and not. And then also what sets your product apart from others who offer a similar thing. Is there a key ingredient? Is there a certain component? Is there a certain type of audience that you're trying to reach that's a very small niche or a segment of the broader audience? Is there something about sourcing, or maybe your product hits at a convenience level or a rarity? I was thinking about an example in our area. Here we have a pizza company and their pizza is delicious, but they make a style of pizza that is not normally found in this part of the country. And so, whenever I read their copy, they're providing some like education around what is this type of pizza. But then they're also using that as a differentiator for the other pizzas kind of compared into this area, because they are the only ones who offer this particular kind of pizza. So they play up on that while also using it as a chance to educate their audience who may not be familiar with it. So that's an example of kind of rarity. And then you also want to gather information around, like if you have a return policy or a delivery method. The delivery method is around if you have a service-based product. So is it delivering, like if you're selling an online course, for example, is it going to be delivered to their email with a link? Are they going to get an attachment? Some of those details so that they're not left guessing on what that next step is. And then finally, if there's any other guarantees or trial periods or freebies or special bonuses that may come with it. Again, that may be for services, but it could be for products too. Like if they buy this bundle, they get this candle for free or something like that. And then the third piece is around doing your research. And this has to do with going into your to other product descriptions and that are similar to what it is that you offer. So if you're doing coffee, bagged coffee, you're going to look at, check out other product descriptions around bagged coffee and get as specific as you can to your target audience to understand. So like if I'll have an example in a minute on like mushroom coffee, you'll look up other mushroom coffee type brands. Now what you're going to check two things here. One, you're going to look at their product descriptions and read it with that critical eye. See how they kick off their copy. See what important details are included in their paragraph or their bullet points, and then also what's not included. So this doesn't there's a fine line, because when you're out there doing kind of like competitive recon and research, your quality is going to vary. So this isn't like necessarily to learn like the holy grail of writing a product description, but it will start to give you insights into how others are approaching their product description and can give you ideas on what to do and what not to do. Now, the second piece of when you're on your competitor's product description page is check out their reviews. These reviews are like gold, because you'll want to read the 5-star all the way down to the 1-star. and start making notes. So get a piece of paper, divide it in half, put plus on one side, minus on the other, and then start writing down trends that you notice of positive, like things that the customers are raving about, things they love, things that they're, that surprise them or delighted them, and what would make them buy again. And then on the flip side of that, also start making notes around what are they complaining about? What was it service? Like, did they get the wrong package when it delivered? Was, the toy broken, or the coffee burnt and or split open and leaking into the package that it shipped in? How was customers, anything that any trends you start to notice, just make note of that, because that can inform your product descriptions, but then also kind of how you can set yourself apart by addressing some of those things that they're complaining about or they're unhappy with as well. So, all right, so now we're going to shift into actually like how some do's around the drafting piece. So when you have an idea, you have all the information, you have an idea of how the product descriptions, and others in your industry kind of look. Now comes time to either write out your bullet points or write your paragraph and then your supporting points. Some tips to help you write on that. So one, be clear and concise. Now there's a phrase in the copywriting world, clear over clever. And that is the case. You want your product description to talk about what your product is, what it's not, how it'll benefit them. It's not being rambly or using tons of flowery language. You want to get to the point and be very clear about it so that it answers their questions, it overcomes their objections, and it inspires them to go and make that purchase. The next piece is around connecting to the feelings. And we've talked quite a bit about this, about the pain points and the aspirations, and then also how the features will benefit their lives. Now, I know sometimes there's a challenge on connecting, like, well, how do I connect the benefits to a given feature? So I wanted to walk through a couple of examples that I just put down around how you can do that, and using coffee again as an example. So this light roast boasts a delicate flavor that leaves you feeling bright and alert without the jitters. So this addressed that it's a light roast, a little bit about the flavor, but the benefit of that is you get to feel that alertness without the jittery edge that some coffees may provide, but this one does not. Finely roasted and freshly roasted and finely ground. So all you have to do is scoop, brew, and enjoy. This hits at the, because this particular example is coffee that is already ground for you, it hits on that convenience factor that all you gotta do is just scoop it and brew it and just savor. So you get the time and convenience element there. And then ground from USDA organic sun-dried beans, because every cup of coffee should be this clean and straight from nature. That hits at the, you have the claims of it being organic and sun-dried, so how the product is actually made. And that appeals to the consumers who don't want to have the pesticides or care about the actual production quality of the bean itself. So that's an example on how to translate features and benefits is, why should, basically, if you have a feature, why should your audience care about that? And then that starts to help you form the benefit to your product description. And then the last piece is around using imagery or sensory words. And the example that I have here is I'm going to read these two different statements, and I want you to tell me which one sticks out most to you, or one that you would remember. The first one is, this coffee tastes smooth, tasty, and strong. The second one is, roasted to perfection, our shade-grown Arabica beans will take your cup of joe to a new, bold, and delicious level. Every sip of this flavorful artisanal batch is as soft as velvet and packs a punch that's sure to revolutionize your mornings. So drop one or two in the comments if based upon which one kind of gets you feeling that cup of coffee a little bit more. The power behind using imagery or sensory is that it starts to go through and connect emotionally and help place your audience in the seat of, okay, I'm going to sip this coffee. This is what it's going to feel like, because I can feel that velvety smoothness in my mouth as I take a sip, and I can already, feel that energizing in the morning. Like, that's really important to me. Yeah, I see people dropping in the comments. Number two, the second one, it just creates that moment in their mind and helps to draw them in. All right, and then the third piece on the drafting has to do with consistency. So the first piece is around your brand's tone or your voice. So if you are a kind of funny, edgy type of brand, then all your product descriptions are going to have that same feel to it. But if you're a more formal or more traditional, your product descriptions aren't going to necessarily, you're not going to have them that are going to be like that edgy kind of vibe. So make sure that whatever your brand or your tone is for your company, that's consistently seen across all the product descriptions. The second piece is around being consistent with the format that you use. So if you're going to go for the short paragraph and the few bullet points approach, make sure all your product descriptions follow that. And then the third is around consistency with the details. So if you're providing measurements on a product, do you spell out the word inches, or do you use the quotation mark? Do you say USA, or do you have it U period, S period, A period? What helps sometimes is to create an actual, like a little cheat sheet document that you can reference, so that you can always pull that up, so you're not having to dig through your old product descriptions to remember what the formatting is. Now, what makes this important is it just adds a professional, polished look to your description, so that whenever your audience is reading them and reading across multiple ones, it all has that same solid, professional, really polished out look and feel to it, and it just helps to build that credibility and relationship with the customer. All right, so now this goes into the editing round. So this has to do with once you've had your draft, now what do you do? So usually what I recommend is when you're drafting, don't worry about editing it as you go. So if it feels wordy, if it feels clunky, if it feels like gross even, that's okay. Just get your ugly first draft out. Don't edit as you go. I've done that, and it's a surefire way to stay paralyzed and not write your product descriptions or your other forms of copy. So just focus on getting it out, because then in your editing round, you can start to trim out the words that aren't adding any value to your reader. So clean that up, start to trim it down, check it for grammar, any spelling mistakes, or extra periods that shouldn't be there, or commas that have gone kind of haywire. Clean that up, and also be sure to format it. So when you're writing your product description, you're writing for three main audiences. You're writing for the in-depth reader who pores over every word. What I think is probably the majority of readers, which is the skimmer, and maybe that's just because I'm a skimmer, but that's where the bullet points can also help. And then you're writing for Google, and that has to do with keywords. So like for example, we've all been on certain shopping sites, and you read a description and it's like 3 lines long for just like a notebook, and you're like, this is the most ridiculously long product or description headline of a product I've ever seen. They're probably keyword stuffing on it. But where you want to use why keywords are important in your actual product name and in your description is that increases your likelihood of getting pulled up higher in the search results. So an example, instead of saying like women's jeans is very broad. It's pretty all encompassing. You're probably going to get lost in there. But if you say tall women's jeans in boot cut style, then you have the keyword. So like as a tall female, you're going to go, like I'm tall, so I'll always go look for tall women's jeans, and then because I don't need to see all the any other cut besides tall. So that's one way that you can start using keywords in there without saying, tall women's jeans and boot cut style for tall women. It starts to feel like unnatural. So just make sure that you're not necessarily keyword stuffing. And I think I jumped the gun because that's actually in the don't section. But the final example on the edit is to optimize for mobile. So a significant amount of people are shopping online. So you want to make sure before you actually hit publish and go live that your copy, your product description is optimized for mobile. So what are the things that you're looking for? Short, snappy sentences, short paragraphs broken up, bullet points. You can bold and italicize just to make it easier for people who are shopping on their mobile devices. How a paragraph will look significantly shorter on your desktop than it will on your mobile device. So make sure and optimize for mobile. And if you have to choose between the two, err towards mobile, because then you're guaranteed to not have those long blocks of text. Number two, oh, on the description. Number two, because number one sounds like a Yelp review. Yeah, we've all read those Yelp reviews that do not sound, that aren't helpful at all. So yes, I get that. Okay, here's some five things not to do when you're writing your product description. One, this is another one of those does statements, but don't lie or deceive. Don't make your product something it's not. Don't spin it or put an edge on it that doesn't exist. You want to make sure to write from integrity and build that trust with your audience so that they know what they read is what they get. And so connected to that is around don't make empty promises. And this has to do with like over exaggerating or making promises that you're not going to be able to deliver on. Again, we talked about don't keyword stuff. Also, don't use the same old stuff. So this has to do with making sure, a couple times a year or so, going in and refreshing your product description and checking to make sure that it still strikes the chord with your audience, that it still reflects your brand and your tone. Sometimes that evolves over time. Language evolves, needs evolve, solutions evolve. So go in and just do a light touch and tweak your product descriptions from time to time. And then the fifth one is you don't have to start from scratch. So that's one benefit of doing competitive research, or if you have product descriptions already, sometimes it just takes a light tweak and adjusting to get your product description a little bit beefed up and set apart kind of from the crowd. So the research steps I walked you through will help you to get a solid foundation so you're not having to write entirely from scratch. So okay, I'm going to now go into some examples of copy, and we're going to kind of pick through what works well, what doesn't work well about them. So as I read through a couple of these examples, think to yourself, who is the target audience for this product? What problem or aspiration do you think that this product solves? How does this product solve it? And what might be missing from the product description? So the first example, before we get in, I wanted to remind y'all again, and sorry about that, is that so writing copy for your business, it's a process, and you may not feel like you nail it from the beginning. You'll see from these examples that there's always room to improve and always room to grow. But that's why you have the SBDC here to help you to see things that you're not able to see, to catch things that you're not able to catch, to help you to continue to improve and up your game. So whether you have product descriptions or another business need, again, connect with them, and they can definitely help to help you overcome your challenges. So I'm going to go through some of these examples, and we're just going to talk about what works well and what doesn't work well. And if you have any questions or need any extra support, drop those in the comments or contact in the chat feature, or contact the SBDC. Now, this first example is around mushroom coffee, and I mentioned that earlier. So I'm going to read through this, and again, think about who the audience is, what problem does it solve, and what might be missing from this product description, or maybe it just sounds pretty good. All right. Unlock elite thinking and mental clarity. Discover your inner genius every morning and level up daily with premium dark roast coffee, the best lion's mane mushroom grown in the United States in the world. Stimulate creativity, motivation, and concentration. Want an unfair advantage? Well, mushrooms are the future, and one sip will change your entire perspective on what's possible. The natural nootropic effect of lion's mane is a game changer. Supercharged cognition. Coffee is well documented to increase alertness, but the synergistic effect of lion's mane mushroom acts like a coffee cognition multiplier to enhance learning and memory, focus and concentration, and overall cognition. Health conscious brew. Lion's mane helps fight stress and anxiety and boost a number of health-related areas for those people wanting to live a more active lifestyle. If you're looking to improve your mind, body, and well-being, look no further. Top shelf risk-free guarantee. While our dark roast whole bean coffee comes unbelievably highly rated by thousands, we are here to let you decide. If for any reason you don't love it, we'll refund your entire order. All right. So what you're going to notice, drop if you have any thoughts or comments on this. If you thought it was great, if you thought it was go ahead and drop that in the comments or in the chat. But what I want to start doing is breaking down a little bit about strengths and opportunities for this particular product description. Okay, so some feel like it's deceptive, right? So it's So that's interesting. So let's go through this a little bit. The most important coffee goes first. So this, if you've noticed, is mushroom coffee. Mushroom coffee has been on trend this past few years or so, and it's touted as a healthier alternative to traditional coffee. And it's all around like your brain cognition and getting your alertness and your mind kind of going. There's a whole other like host of health benefits that it claims to have. So this particular one, product description, puts that most important pieces of like of mushroom coffee buyers like up front. So another comment said it was health conscious. Absolutely. Like I picked up on that piece as well. They're playing up the health pieces of this. So they're saying, unlock elite thinking, that they're talking about mental clarity, about creativity, motivation, concentration. These are the major drivers and major claims behind mushroom coffee and why people are looking for it. Now, it also tells us a lot about the audience. These are people, when you buy them, if you start thinking about what is this audience that would buy it. So yeah, high-end professional consumer. They're the ones who are performance driven. The copy is using phrases like elite, genius, level up, unfair advantage. These aren't folks who drink coffee for pleasure. These are people who drink coffee for function, and they want to be at the top of their game. So there's this perception of premium, high end, very elite, that all of that language to draw in that consumer. It also assumes some familiarity. So it's using terms like nootropic, lion's mane, assuming that their reader is going to have some basic understanding of what that means and what that can do for them. Now, one piece is kind of what's missing. So one of the I'm curious to see if there's anything that, like, if you read this, would you buy it? Drop that in the comments real quick. I want to see who would buy it or not. And one of the things I wanted to address on that is, while y'all are dropping those comments in, is one of the pieces that they also provide, and you notice this at the very bottom, is the risk-free guarantee. So there is an unknown element to it. So basically, to capture anyone who still has a doubt or any questions unanswered or is concerned about the taste, because you might, if you're new to mushroom coffee, you might be thinking, well, I don't want to drink like portobello soup. That doesn't sound very good. But they offer a risk-free guarantee. So if you try it and you don't like it, you can return it. But they also put in social proof right here at the bottom. It's unbelievably highly rated by thousands. So they're saying, we know like others have raved about this. We think you're going to love it. But if you don't, we got to cover for that. And we're happy to provide you that refund. So yeah, I would for my husband, but only because it's something new I think he would like. Yeah, so it's new and different, right? Very different than like a traditional kind of coffee experience. And yes, so I don't know what size it is. And I love health claims, but I'm a home remedies junkie. Yeah, so there are reasons that people would buy and not buy. Some of the other missing pieces, they don't talk about taste. They don't talk about how many ounces or what size the bag is, how many cups you can get out from it, what's in it, what's the bean, what's the quality of the bean. So it's a mixture of mushroom, like some extracts and coffee. So it's dark roast whole bean, but what kind of bean? Where is that bean sourced from? Are those important things that the customer would need to know? So that's an example of that one, the quality of the extract even. So in some worlds, for some other customers, lion's mane is not considered a premium enough of an ingredient. So, how do you address that? So it just takes knowing your audience, what matters to them, and then what are those supporting details and benefits that are really going to help them decide that this is the right product for them. All right, and I'm going to skip over that other mushroom coffee and go into, we're going to jump outside of coffee for a little bit. I'm going to give you a couple of examples that are not food-based. So this one is around a Nixon watch. So I'm going to read through this one and think through, who's their audience? What do they care about? Are there any questions left unanswered that you may not know or that you may be wondering about? Okay, Century leather watch, set to stun. The Century leather is an elegant timepiece with an adventurous side. Think black tie meets block party. The face pops with depth and detail, but with a solid stainless steel case, hardened mineral crystal, and water-resistant rating of 100 meters, You don't have to worry about it not being able to hang in the real world. Now, I should also clarify, I was looking specifically for men's watches, but that is absent from this copy. So that could be an opportunity. But start dropping in who you think this is for and what information is missing that would be important. And I'll start talking through it. So who's their audience? So this is around, so knowing that it's a men's watch is for men who, what I gathered from it, men who want a versatile watch that they can either kind of dress up or dress down, depending on what they're doing. They can keep it dry, they can go swimming. It really meets all those different scenarios that they may find themselves in life. It's really kind of a lifestyle watch. So what does their audience care about? Now, what's cool about this copy is that they blend elegance with adventure. So the man who wears this watch has, like the black tie, like they mentioned, that black tie events, the elegance, the finer things of life. But then they also have this side of them that likes adventure, that likes block parties. Maybe they're in, it's water resistant. So maybe he's going, jumping in lakes or going for swims. So it kind of meets this versatility element of elegance and adventure. So what other pieces that you pick from it is that it's durable, it's versatile, it's multifunctional. You don't have to worry about changing out watches. What I gathered from this, now the price point on this was like $140. It was on sale, normally like $170 or $175. So another piece of this could be, knowing their customer, is that the man who buys this, or the person who buys this for the man, may have like a price consciousness element to it. So the versatility can be, like especially that last sentence of, you don't have to worry about it not being able to hang in the real world, meaning that, yeah, it's durable, it's versatile, and it's also, excuse me, it can keep up and hang with the high quality of life that they want, but with the price that they can afford. So, so I thought that was a short, sweet, and kind of nicely written one. A couple things that are missing. Again, you don't know if it's a man's watch just from reading the description, or a female watch, or maybe it's just like a general kind of watch. Also, it says that it's century leather watch. They don't talk about like, is it 100% leather? Is it vegan leather? Is it, kind of what are some of those details? What's the backing on the back of the plate? Is there metal in it? Is it plastic? It doesn't really look that metally, but those are some of the details. Is the band adjustable? Is it not? Those are some details that might be helpful for purchasing. All right, this one, I'm going to read this to you, and I want you to drop in your best guess on what you think this product is. Okay, decorate your home with style this season. Dimensions: 8 inches high by 7 inches diameter. From modern to antique, traditional to eclectic, you'll find the right items to boost your home decor. Decorate your home with beautiful decor that reflects your taste and design detail. What is this product? Any guesses? I'm going to wait for this one. I actually asked my husband what this, I have no idea what they're selling. Yeah, I brought my husband in for this one, and I was like, what do you think this is? And he looked at it and he was like, I don't know. And I would be stunned if anyway. So I have no idea what they're selling. A Christmas ornament that can be filled. Yeah, it's does it go on the Christmas tree? You would think, but it's actually not. These are lidded ornament candles. So you actually, like where it's split down the middle. Yes, Tara, maybe a candle. Yes, so if you can actually pop the lid, the top half of that ornament off, and inside is a candle. Now you have no idea of that from this product description. There is no indication that there is a candle in here. It doesn't talk about, what's the wax? What is the scent? Does it come in multiple scent flavors? What's the burning time? Anything like that. There's no details, no indication that it's a candle. It's also super vague copy. And there's also, very confusing. I totally agree. It's very confusing because there's also this dimensions, 8 inch high by 7 inch diameter. But then you have this item dimension, which is different. Now I'm assuming this item dimension has to do with the actual product that it's shipped in, but it's confusing because it says item, but then you have 2 items here. And so it's just, it's vague there. It also feels like it may have a little bit of keyword stuffing in it. Because you have the word, so you have 4 bullet points, and in 3 out of the 4, they mention decor or decorate. So they say, first bullet point, decorate your home. Third bullet point, home decor. Fourth one, decorate your home with beautiful decor. So, excuse me, they're hitting at that decor piece. But again, nowhere says that there's a candle. So there you go. All right. So now I'm going to wrap up with a few writing tips. What happens when there's too much of the same keyword? So it's not so much. So like what it can do is if you have like, I'll go back to this example. That's a great question. What happens when you have too much of the same keyword? You want to try to vary it up by having it in the name of your actual product, and then also kind of sprinkled throughout your product description. If you have too much of the same keyword, it feels unnatural to read. Like it feels like I read through this and it felt really repetitive, which can be a turnoff because then it feels like it's not providing a helpful reader experience. So whenever you're using keywords, it's weaving it in naturally into your copy so that when your reader reads it, they don't know, like it just flows. Because ultimately when you're writing, you want to have that spotlight on them and have their experience with reading your words or reading your product description to be helpful, informative, inspirational, prompt them to action. And if you have too much of the same keyword in there and it feels stuffed, it's going to be a turnoff because then it becomes a distraction for them to actually read through the copy that you're providing. But I don't think from a technical perspective, I'm not sure. The primary concern is around the how it affects the reader and the reader's experience. All right, so some final writing tips to wrap up product descriptions. These are some of the reminders that we've covered. So first is do your research and gather all your information together first. Make sure that you're clear on who uses the product versus who buys the product, and that when you're writing copy, you're factoring in. So if you remember that watch example, that men's watch example, they write it in a way that you don't actually know if it's a partner or kid buying a watch for their dad, or if it's, a man buying it for himself. You don't they wrote kind of a little bit like factoring both of those in mind. What do people really like about the product, about the type of product that you're selling? So like, what do people really like about coffee, or, like ready to drink coffee or bad coffee? What do they not like? What qualities of this type of product that you sell are important to them? What do they use this product for, or why do they use this? Is it for enjoyment? Is it function? Is it convenience? Is it some other, is it for a treat? Is it, for fun? Is it like a kid's toy where it's fun and educational? Is it a blend? What sets your product apart from others? What really differentiates it and makes it unique? And then what's your competition saying and not saying? And then what are the people who buy from your competition saying and not saying? And then once you have that groundwork laid, then draft out a short paragraph with some bullet points, or you can just do a full bullet point style, whichever reflects your style, your tone, and kind of what the platform is using. And then make your edits. Trim it up, make sure it's grammar free. When I was going through product descriptions to put together screenshots on, there were a lot of errors that I saw, and it's like you don't want that ding. It's easy to run it through Grammarly or a type of grammar checker to make sure that it's just polished, and you don't want typos to get in the way of someone purchasing. And then before you hit publish, ask yourself, is the audience clear? Is it clear who I'm writing to, and am I speaking their language? Does the product description clearly state what the product is and isn't, and what it includes? Does the feature or do the features connect into the benefits? Are you introducing all those important details, but then are you linking them to how it'll actually improve their life, how it will either resolve a pain point or help them reach their dream, or overcome like an objection that they have for buying? Another thing that I didn't have on this list, but that's important, is do you have an opportunity to bring in your social proof? So if your product has, or your service has, let's say it's won an award, or it has like over 100 5-star reviews, or it was voted, I don't know, best coffee in North Central Texas, or, whatever the accolades or the praise may be, bring that up into your copy so that people will know that. Like if it's award winning, absolutely any type of credibility and social proof or social testimonies or reviews you can bring in, the stronger that will be for your reader. And then does the description answer all questions and address any obstacles? Now, the one way to know if your product description is successful and effective is one simple thing. If you read it, or if your reader, like your perfect buyer, reads it and they still have questions, then your product description has not done its job. So make sure that you're answering all those important questions that influence their buying purchase, and that you're addressing anything that may possibly hang them up. And that also includes things like your return policy or money back guarantee, or any bonuses or anything like that that might tip the scale in the favor of them purchasing. And then, is it free from errors? Have you run it through all the like Grammarly or the different apps to help get it all spit shined and polished? All right, so that if you have any questions that we haven't already covered, please drop those into the chat. Otherwise, here are some ways that you can find me. I also have a link on there if you want to catch some 10 free tools and some tips to help you write copy better and faster for your business. If you just go to that link on the screen. Otherwise, I'll take any questions and I'll transition it back over.
Well, while everybody is thinking about their question, I have a few.
Okay.
Excuse me. What is your process whenever you are given a product or service that you are to write copies for? What is your process?
So for product descriptions, or just kind of in general, in general, that's a great question. So what I do is I scope out the project first. So this kind of goes into that research bucket. So I scope out the project. And because I'm writing on behalf of a business, the same step applies to, is like, what tone or voice are you going for? What's the feel that you want to have in the copy? I learn everything I can about the ideal audience and really start to map out what are they looking for? What do they not want? Who they are, like those what are they feeling? What are they thinking? So I'll do a lot of buyer or consumer research. And then what I'll do is I'll do all that upfront research. And then to create my draft or my initial draft, I'm a big fan of creating outlines. So like, for example, on the product description, excuse me, I would say like short paragraph, highlight, benefits, like 1, 2, 3, and then additional bullet points. And then basically I create an outline template for myself that I can then use across all my product descriptions. And then I can just pull from that. So another example of how that can look would be if I'm writing a blog, like a list-based blog. I'll start it off with headline, intro section, and then like let's say 7 points or 7 things in the list. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are the main bullet points, and then I'll start to fill in. So you just break it down into an outline form, and then you can copy and paste that template. I'm a big fan of creating structure. So like what I've learned is I'm a very linear thinker, and I love process, and so I find a lot of efficiency in processes. So if I can create a process for my writing, then that helps to get it. So, but the outline helps me to get the words out. What also helps me to get the words out is I take the pressure off of myself of getting the first draft perfect. I just get it out. That's really, when I say like the goal of the first draft is to just get it out of you, it's so true. Sometimes I'll go for walks and I'll voice text the draft to myself because you're moving and I don't know, something happens mentally that helps me get the words out if I'm like walking. And then I let it sit for, a day or two, and then I come back with a fresh mind and then start the editing process. So I try to just create a process to help streamline it, because I know sometimes like even the most seasoned of copywriters still hit writer's block. So that process and outlining helps.
Gotcha. And that was my next question. Do you use a template? So I can understand the linear thinking. I like processes as well. So if I have if I have an outline, I know that I'm hitting the same points every time and I'm not missing anything. If I try to do it from memory or being creative or something, I'm going to miss something.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you and understand.
It's so true, Paula. And it's the thing that's so helpful about so there's a couple different kind of templates that you can create. There's that bare bones outline that's like, your headline, intro, main points, conclusion, and then your conclusion, like your call to action. Like that's just kind of an outline template. But then what I also do, and this is kind of a secret weapon of a lot of copywriters, is they'll start creating swipe files of like high converting copy that like I subscribe to a number of email lists. I will bookmark websites or landing pages or opt-ins or lead magnets, and I start building out my arsenal, my swipe file, so that if I'm running dry on inspiration or I need some ideas or a new way to say something, I've now built an example, like a little library of existing copy I can go to get those wheels turning so that you don't have to create from scratch. Because nothing is more judgmental than staring at that Google Doc and that cursor is just blinking at you and you're like, you're mean. Blank page, you're mean.
I completely understand that. I can identify with that. That's kind of the way I made it through college. Um, let's see. Someone says that, well, two people say that this has been very helpful to them and they really are looking forward to the webinars. Well, I tell you what, let's talk about upcoming webinars and how Ashley fits into that. Here are the upcoming webinars for the next couple of weeks. You can see that it looks like it's the Ashley and Brian show for the next 2 weeks. Ashley will be back with us on December 7th, talking about, part 1 of a series, how to connect with your target audience, part 1. I'm looking forward to that. Then we're bringing in a new presenter, Brian Flanagan, who's going to talk to us about selling and how to sell your product. Sell your value, don't defend your price, selling in style. Ashley's back with part 2. And then Brian comes back. Let's see, how close is that to our winter break? Pretty close. How to replace the competition. Doesn't everyone want to know that? Ashley, thank you so much for all of this information. It has been a pleasure actually hearing about this and hearing about your process. I just want to make sure everyone knows that you'll be receiving a survey. And if you would please fill out that survey and let us know how we're doing. Let us know what topics you are most interested in hearing about. We're always looking for ways to improve our program. You can go to our website to register for any of these webinars by going to sbdc.nctc.edu, or you can just take a picture of our QR code that's in the upper right-hand corner of that slide, and you can register for the webinars. You can get contact information, schedule an appointment with an advisor, and find some of the other resources that we have already available on our website for small business owners. Excuse me. We are grant funded, as I mentioned earlier, and because of that, I'd like to thank some folks: the Small Business Administration, the state of Texas, North Texas SBDC Regional Office in Dallas, and our host college, North Central Texas College, for helping us to be able to provide these products and services to you at no cost. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next week to learn how to connect with your target audience. Thank you all.
I'll see you there.
We're going to end the webinar now. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing everyone.